2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Smart 7.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday the 2nd of September, and it's World Coconut Day. And a big happy birthday to Keir Starmer, Salma Hayek, Lennox Lewis, and Keanu Reeves. With no sign of a let-up in energy prices and no sign of action from the government until a new Prime Minister's in place, energy companies themselves are now searching for an answer, and one of the largest thinks they may have a unit-by-unit solution. Chief Executive of OVO, Stephen Fitzpatrick, says their plan to artificially reduce prices will benefit both lower-income households as well as the average taxpayer.
One of the ways we think this could be done most effectively is by launching a tariff deficit mechanism where we lower the price of energy, but we do it for a certain number of units per household in a lower price band that everybody gets access to, and then over and above that, consumers will pay the full price.
Current Chancellor Nadine Zahawi is also worried and says energy companies should be on top of their game more than ever by communicating with customers. He says that no one should fear their supply being cut and money will be provided.
We will deliver the 37 billion, so that £1,200 to the most vulnerable 8 million households. But we'll go beyond that because we know we need to send a message to Mr. Putin that this strategy is not going to work.
But Shadow Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds says this really isn't good enough. He says expecting households to pay over £4,000 is unrealistic, and they may not even get through the winter to see the second price rise in January.
Frankly, saying it's coming down the line, we can't tell you what it is. It will take weeks after this announcement is made of the new Prime Minister for anything to happen. For it to be implemented will take even longer.
It's been a hell of a last week for part-time Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He set out on a grand tour to highlight his achievements in office and ended up going viral as he appeared on a wannabe rapper's TikTok during a police raid. Thursday found him presumably trying out for a new job in Currys as he visited the Sizewell nuclear reactor and chose to speak at length on, well, kettles.
If you have an old kettle that takes ages to boil, it may cost you £20 to replace it. But if you get a new one, you'll save £10 a year every year on your electricity bill.
All joking aside, with an energy crisis in full swing, Boris was visiting the nuclear plant to highlight the need for further investment in nuclear power and to pledge £700 million towards the cost of a new Sizewell C reactor. He chose to do so, however, by harking back to a Ladybird book called The Story of Nuclear Power. This may or may not be what Britain's energy policy is now based on. It wasn't completely clear, but what is clear is that Boris really liked that book.
And I feel like one of those beautifully drawn illustrations in that Ladybird book of what happens in a nuclear pile when the graphite rods are taken out at the wrong moment and my blood starts to boil and steam comes out of my ears and I think I'm going to melt down.
So, will you miss him? After weeks of drama at the Zaporizhzhya nuclear power plant, the International Atomic Energy Agency inspection team finally arrived on the ground on Thursday. However, even before their arrival, one of the 2 remaining reactors had to be deactivated following what appeared to be a Russian mortar attack. The claims and counterclaims between Russia and Ukraine continued, with the visit from the IAEA looking like it might have to be called off at one point following shelling and small arms fire along their route to the plant. Nevertheless, Director General of the IAEA, Rafael Grossi, says they've now been able to gather a lot of information and will now situate themselves at the scene.
Weighing the pros and cons, and having come so far, we are not stopping. And I am going to consider the possibility of establishing a continued presence of the IAEA at the plant.
Donald Trump's battle with the FBI over classified documents and the Supreme Court's decision to repeal Roe v. Wade and roll back abortion rights appear to be turning the political tide in the United States in favour of the Democrats. Alaska just elected the first Alaska Native and the first Democrat for 50 years to a congressional seat. Mary Peltola beat former Republican Governor Sarah Palin in a special election.
Well, just a tremendous sense of gratitude and appreciation for the people who've put trust in me to fill out the remainder of Congressman Young's term. And I intend to be really trying to live up to the legacy that Don laid for Alaska and champion and work for all Alaskans.
Meanwhile, Donald spent the afternoon ranting to right-wing TV channels about conspiracies and what he'll do for January the 6th rioters if he runs and is re-elected.
If I decide to run and if I win, I will be looking very strongly about pardons.
Amen.
Full pardon.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Kate Moss gets a brownstone from Johnny Depp and the House of Hammer is about to drop. Right after this. Welcome back.
The US Open tennis continued on Thursday with bad news for Serena Williams as she and sister Venus were knocked out of the doubles competition in the first round. British men Cameron Norrie and Dan Evans are both safely through to the third round, however. Meanwhile, there was one game in the Premier League with Man United travelling to Leicester and coming away with a 1-0 win which sees them climb all the way to 5th place in the table. Manager Erik ten Hag was pleased to see his team get a third win and an away win.
I'm happy with the clean sheet, and you see when there are 11 on the pitch who defend together and attack together, and when you have that in, the energy, and then you see what you can achieve.
Kate Moss is a true fashion icon, one of the original supermodels and a famously independent woman. She's done a special feature for British Vogue where she goes through her lookbook, which is a fascinating insight into 90s and noughties fashion. It's packed full of intriguing stories, but one truly tops them all. It revolves around her first ever diamond necklace, as presented somewhat uniquely by then-boyfriend Johnny Depp.
We were going out for dinner and he said, "I've got something on my bum. Can you have a look?" And I was like, "What?" And I put my hand down in his trousers and I pulled out a diamond necklace.
Not the first woman to get diamonds from an arse, I'm guessing. He's gone from Hollywood to horror story. The new Discovery Plus docuseries House of Hammer, which follows abuse allegations around actor Armie Hammer, premieres today. It details claims of his alleged sexual and emotional abuse after a series of online screenshots were released last year. His aunt, Casey, says she heard about the scandal through the press, but wasn't surprised by it due to growing up a Hammer.
I wasn't shocked because based on my experiences and my life and growing up a Hammer, I was exposed to all of that on a daily basis in a sense of that was my learned environment. That was my normal. So for me, I didn't know any different.
This has been The Smart 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great day.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.